think it's gonna be BBG's plan here is they're already getting extremely aggressive towards C.
It looks like a pretty standard layout, at least for a pistol. They're going to play a 4-stack C long, leaving Cypher as a late lurk, covering rotations from A. And it looks like they're already moving to push onto site. Cypher might be running into Drone's Phoenix here quite quickly. A quick pick from Pha onto Hazed, and it looks like that's going to make BBG reassess their overall game plan, trying to queue off the information in the pick that they have.
Yeah, this pick's going to make it extremely hard for them to actually react to any of these rotations. Wherever BBG go, they know there's going to be very little utility. Remember, there's not a Sage on the side of TSM. There's no more smokes left. Everything they're doing is now entirely based on gun duels. Built by Gamers can then use this omen to their advantage, get the smokes, find and execute onto the site. And it looks like they're headed back over to C here. Poking and prodding to find out if anybody's set up, but Drone is spending his sweet time in the back corner of site here.
This is quite the cheeky head fake, even sending that Omen smoke back over towards A, anchoring TSM's rotation. They're going to be pushing a full 5v1 push into Drone.
Yeah, and trading one for one rather is pretty good as far as TSM's concerned. You gain site control, you have the smokes on cooldown, you're feeling pretty good about your odds. Not to mention the fact that TSM can now start trading out these kills, something that they are exceptional at. Robwiz set up down long here just to defend the plant, but it's this crossfire from Nicolas that you really want to be watching. Tork takes out the first. Nicolas tries to peek it, but it's going to be 2 headshots for Tork. Subroza comes in, cleans up one more, but it's not going to be enough for BBG. We're going to fall 1-0.
What a way to kick things off. BBG coming out of the gates fast. Definitely not what I would have expected opening this up, but they really showed a lot of discipline, pushing that initial C long, taking their pick, and then easing back, not overforcing, coaxing TSM into a false rotation, and then capitalizing on it to immense success.
Yeah, I think that's one of the advantages that BBG has. They're coming in, they know the Sageless composition, they also know the weakness of the Sageless composition, and once that Brimstone gets taken care of, things get so much harder for TSM.
Absolutely, and it looks like they may be more or less running back the same strategy here, looking for those cheeky peeks onto C long. Droning out sight. I don't think they got information on Hazed just yet. The blind spam will give away that there's at least a few of them here, though.
Both teams taking their sweet time at this one. This time, though, the Brimstone stays alive. A heavy rotation, though, from TSM. They are gambling hard on this C site. They're going to find out very quickly, though, where this is going as the camera is set up. It should spot out these players from Built by Gamers. They know now the jig is up, the rotation's in, 3 players of TSM rushing back towards that A site.
I wonder if BBG head fakes again and heads immediately back to C. They know that they've been given away, and it looks like they may be doing just that. If I was in their shoes here, I think I'd be playing a bit faster. They know that they baited out the rotation. It seems like TSM is really eager to make pretty heavy committals here. TSM not looking to get fooled again, though. Looks like they're going to rotate back extremely fast as well. But is it too late? It looks like BBG will at least get the plant here.
TSM are on one hell of a roller coaster, side to side of this map, but not finding any success. Pha cleaning up Subroza. Everyone's coming in through basically 2 lanes here, straight into the welcoming arms of Tork, who's going to chuck in Shock Dart after Shock Dart, clean them on up and secure a second round here, at least what should be a second round for BBG. Drone's going to make it at least a little bit less economically viable. Take out one of those players, Shock Dart over, and he's doing a good bit of damage here, but this should not end up in a round win for TSM.
Incredibly impressive out of BBG thus far. The amount of rotational finesse that they are currently displaying is putting TSM to shame. They're forcing these unfavorable rotations time and time again out of TSM. And even though TSM seemed to be caught far less off guard this time, we saw that extremely fast counter rotation out of both the Jet and the Cypher. It still wasn't enough. We still got a free plant out for BBG, and I wonder if we're going to see TSM find a way in order to counter this, if they're going to be using Sova arrows more aggressively to get recon, or how they're going to be able to get a read on these rotations that are frankly breaking their ankles.
Yeah, definitely a bad time running back and forth across the side. But Wardell now has an operator. I think that's by far the most important thing about this round. It's the biggest difference between the others. Going to stem the aggression from BBG. It also gives TSM a way to anchor themselves. You don't have to rotate nearly as much when you have these long sightlines covered. You don't need to worry about opposing sites when you can just set Wardell up on them and rely on the movement. You're already up 1 pick, and you're feeling a lot better after the bonus round from BBG.
Absolutely. TSM finally looking to take a slight advantage at the very least, and there will be no trickery this time.
Absolutely not. And in comes Robwiz going down first, and this one stopping a lot quicker than previous. Tork trades it out. They've got control of the site, but they're running low on utility right now as TSM come blazing back in. Nicolas cleans up too. It's going to allow the spike to go down, but things are getting dicey as it's 2v2. TSM slowly approaching the site, waiting out the utility. Both of them approaching from the defender spawn. It's double stack versus double stack here. Cameron's going to spot out one. Payen on site. 9 HP to his name, though. He does not look long for life. That reveals the location of both players. The jig is now up. TSM blaze in. Nicolas wants to clean up 2 more. Cutler, though, sprays down 2 and should get this defuse on in for a first round on the board for TSM.
Goodness, we're entering territory where TSM was looking at a dangerous amount of anti-momentum there, and BBG was really going to start picking up the pace. So them picking up this round and picking up an op no less for Wardell is pretty critical.
Yeah, grabbing the operator back, grabbing the economy back is incredibly important for them. Of course, this is a map that they are expected to win against literally every other team in the world. Their record is unprecedented here. I want to see the gun rounds won. The pistol round, you know what? It's a wash. You get beat by the same strat twice in a row. You know what? Put it behind you. But here's where they need to stabilize. Here's where I expect TSM to come ahead, because this is a team that should be able to capitalize on a lead like this. However, their buy isn't necessarily perfect.
Definitely not. But they're going to try and have to make up a little bit of ground here. We'll have to see if they can get some picks, break back a little bit of the economy that TSM just picked up. And it looks like they're going to mix things up a bit, leaning towards A this time instead of the C pushes that we've seen all rounds prior.
I can really appreciate what TSM have done here. They haven't really shifted their standard. They're not getting too in their own heads about this yet. They're keeping relatively spread about the map, even though there's a lot of utility being thrown out towards A. They've already read this as fake. There's no rotation here off of B. They maybe shift a little bit, but they know in their guts where it's going. Wardell with the operator has to put a stop to this. Ready to peek the first shot. It gets 2! Oh, the double connects, and that's going to give TSM so much time to come back in. First player goes down, but Wardell's on a killing spree here. Takes down a 3rd for the round, looking for the ace. Drops the blade. Storm gets a 4th. Can he get the 5th? As it's going to be the Phoenix cowering in spawn here. The operator tastes blood and wants some more here. Just waiting for the right peak, waiting for the right opportunity. One man versus the entire army here. As the Cypher comes in for a little bit of backup, there's still 20 seconds on the clock for this Phoenix to get something done.
And this is exactly what I was talking about in the pre-round, is that one of the very, very large worries that you're going to have running Sageless here is when you make these aggressive plays. If TSM does call your shot and you run headlong into Wardell, he's going to put not only one, but multiple players on your team in the grave, and you're going to be running for the hills.
He's going to take the 1 versus 2, though. And TSM are pushing aggressively to just try and trade this kill out. Wardell with the blade storm. Can he get the 5th? He does! Ace to his name in the first 4 rounds of the game. TSM come clean up 1 more here in the quarterfinal to make the score even, and I will say, in a fantastic fashion.
Wardell doing good on his fans, showing up exactly as they expect. An ace within the first 4 rounds of the match. What an absolute animal.
What a nut. And he manages to hold on to his operator, so their economy is actually feeling not the greatest, but all right at this point. Again, their economy wasn't great in the previous round. Losing 4 is not going to do them well this time, but it's BBG who are actually the ones hurting. They're buying up as much as they can. They might get a submachine gun in here and there, but right now, this is all about picks. This is all about not letting TSM pull too far ahead, because if that happens, I suspect we're going to be seeing more rounds like that.
Absolutely. We see BBG here on more or less the full econ with just a stinger and a ghost to their names. And I expect we'll see a full 5-stack fast push, just looking for plant money, try and give them a little bit of economic recovery. And it looks like they've chosen their site well, pushing onto A with only Cutler on the Cypher defending. Wardell quick on the rotation, though. Here's that plant money.
They're gonna get in, they get the plant money, but once that utility runs out, and you can tell, TSM are already being extremely patient about waiting out this utility. Drone, oh my goodness, the guy's dancing around, gets himself to a third. Wardell coming cleaning up on the back end here, dropping out of heaven, giving him a little bit of sauce. Dodges off to the side. Fuck could be the one to stop it, but Drone's gonna shut him down, get a 4K, nearly one-ups Wardell from the previous round, but in just as dominant a fashion, TSM close out a third to take the lead.
Will be happy with that round, picking up that plant money, but my goodness, the parkour and spicy moves coming out of Drone there. He's
I know.
Spider-Manning himself all over that corridor. My goodness. That 3K completely shutting out BBG's hopes of doing anything beyond just the plant in that round.
Well, I can tell you, we know who didn't forget their dancing shoes. That's the very least to say here. But TSM, not out of the woods. Finally, another gun round going to be coming online for BBG. Of course, they did get the plant money, so they're going to be feeling fine with their own weapons. TSM as well have cash for next round. They've got a little bit of a bolster, but look at this aggression from Subroza pushing all the way forward. Gonna get one off the back of Wardell's aggression here. The stim pack as well helping them out. Subroza finally gets punished here, but there's still plenty of players at A to stop the inevitable push should it come through. BBG now need to take a step back and reassess.
Yeah, still looking at an even setup more or less, but Wardell's low on health, which you never want to see as an opera. He's a single tag or so away from going down. And given his performances thus far, he's very critical to TSM's ability to hold back these fast pushes. Drone fishing for information mid, trying to make sure that TSM isn't getting juked again by BBG.
Well, BBG are actually the ones who are concerned right now. They all went towards A long at the start of this round. They have no clue, and I mean no clue, what is on the other side of the map right now. The only bit of information they've gotten past mid was that singular drone. They have to commit to A. They don't really have another option, and TSM know that. Lining up Wardell's operator, misses the shot uncharacteristically here as BBG still twiddling their thumbs outside of A.
Yeah, we're getting to the point where BBG needs to be a little bit more decisive. One of the issues that you will run into with Sageless is that when you aren't forcing that aggression forward, your clock is going to not do you any favors. They finally do commit to sight, and it just goes extremely well for them.
One member remaining. It's Cutler against the world. He could pull this one out. He just needs to find that sight line on the right side. He's got plenty of time for the spike to be ticking down.
At this point, I don't know that he even pushes. Maybe he just fishes for a single pick. Cypher of all agents is not the one you want to be trying to solo retake with.
And unsurprisingly, he's going to get shut down for it. TSM 3-3. They had some fantastic plays before that, but they finally get caught with their boots a little bit too big. That 3-minute aggression towards short, I love the mix-up, but it seemed like BBG were relatively ready for it, and I feel like Subroza really dropped the ball on pushing with the Phoenix there. He had the flank, nobody was looking at him, but he still got mowed down because he took too long to push through the Omen smoke. Now your weapon's not exactly the greatest. Subroza's on hell, just a sheriff, and their money's not looking great either. Wardell missed a bunch of shots. TSM, we talked about them having anti-momentum in the first couple of rounds, but I think it's about time they start pulling it back.
Absolutely. I think the BBG's done really well to sort of dance around TSM's strengths here. We haven't seen them commit to a B plant yet, and I think that's an active decision to dodge Wardell's off in mid, where it'll be arguably most powerful on the map. And it's done them a lot of favors thus far, but we see now where TSM is starting to hit their stride. BBG has to find a way to pick up momentum again.
Yeah, now down a member here. Again, this is a critical round for both teams. Neither's economic is in a great place. BBG looking to give him the rope-a-dope again, run it back across the other side of the map. Two tripwires laying in a wait for them, and they know exactly where Wardell is going to be. Does he go for the drop is a big question. Absolutely. You know this man's willing to take any aim roll. Does he get the shot, though? He absolutely does. Robwiz falls. Now he knows the aggression is going to be coming, trying to wait for his teammates to get in. It's going to be Color there just to help not spot the Cypher. Gets a flick over onto Nicolas. And that is what they need to close out this round. One member remains. Blade Storm popped, but you're not really kicking yourself too much for that one as TSM finally rebolster their economy.
Me oh my, Wardell is a one-man army. This is absurd.
He really is.
10-4 already, 7 rounds in. the fact that he's taking op fights at that distance and still trading 2 safely before he's even tagged it borders on unreal.
Yeah, I gotta hand it to Cutler though. I feel like they did a really, really good job of supporting the operator, taking the aim duels down short and long to try and draw some of the attention away, allow Wardell to get that secondary peek in. Now this is where TSM can start playing head games. You've only seen B or C, you've only seen A. You know BBG want to mix things up here on the eco round, but they're taking all of the pressure away from mid. They're more than willing to give them this because they know that this utility will inevitably run out.
And look at this. This is the first round we've seen Cutler reposition his tripwires to garage and mid, and it's a direct call on where BBG ended up. We've seen them A every round prior to this, and the first time we see them elsewhere, they're directly on target. What a hard call on BBG's adaptation, or at least attempts to adapt to TSM's defense.
Yeah, this is TSM's map, and they want BBG to know it. They are all kinds of in their head, and peeking this angle is not going to make things any nicer. Eat the recon bolt. The peek from mid, though, is huge. Subroza and Wardell coming in, cleaning up the utility, running out for BBG, and they are sitting ducks here in mid on B. Does not matter where. They're going to get taken down. A clean round here for TSM to give themselves a 2-point lead.
And now we're getting into dangerous territory. TSM's obviously picking up a lot of momentum. BBG is getting outright called on their plays, and they need to find something. I don't know if it's going to be playing through for a couple of ultimates, maybe queuing off of a Sova ulti, but they've got to find something here. Otherwise, TSM's going to start running away.
Yeah, Wardell's turning into more and more of a nut by the minute here on the operator, and I can only expect more. Look at this aggression again at A. This time, though, going towards long, somewhere we have not seen it before. Gonna post up the recon arrow. Both of them are gonna opt for it. Both of them get spotted out as well. Is that a dink through a wall I see? Nope. Both teams coming out full HP.
Yeah, and I think that is kind of a surprise. So far, this map has been a little bit of a tale of two jets. We see on the side of BBG, Robwiz with a really uncharacteristically poor performance. I think he's 2-5 right now. And Wardell, by comparison, is obviously popping off. I think that we really need to see a bit of a turnaround in Robwiz's jet play if we want to see BBG pick up a little bit.
Yeah, we talked about it beforehand. Robwiz and Pho, the players that need to be showing up but have not quite yet here for BBG. TSM letting them have this A site again, confident in their retake ability. However, it's not nearly as easy as it was the previous time, because this time BBG have weapons, they have the ability to shut it down, they've got the utility coming in this late and decide this first aim duel is going to matter so much. TSM have bided their time, but will it pay off here? Subroza getting extremely aggressive on the Phoenix, tries to peek around. Orbital strike down on site, gives a lot of space to work with, and TSM are more than happy to do exactly that, using these newly created sightlines to push forward. Smoke off short, take their duel spot, trying to clutch it out. One more member remaining here. Can they get the peak? Absolutely not. Get cleaned up, and TSM and the round 4 members alive after a 5v5 retake.
Things are getting into dangerous territory now for BBG. They're going to be looking at another broken buy, and TSM has money in spades at this point. Subroza may very well be cash capped after this round. We're really starting to feel the burn for BBG, and I'm not sure what move they need to make from here to turn it around.
I think they need to start trying to get in TSM's head again. I think they're letting TSM drive the bus a little bit too much with Wardell's operator shutting down these sightlines. It seems like ever since they kind of lost that one trick up their sleeve, things are trying to rush. But again, here it comes. Wardell with the operator catch, one on a wall bang, gets out of the almost smoke just luckily enough. But there's a 3-man stack here that I don't think BBG know they're about to be running into. Of course, it isn't eco reference. They're not too running into this. Happy to mow down Subroza, take at least one of those weapons away. No economy cap, but smartly grabbing this Phantom is Wardell, pushing forward straight into the flames, but does not get taken down. 20 HP to his name, and it is way too close here.
TSM has just had enough of BBG's games. They're calling them outright, and BBG doesn't seem to have the same willingness that they had in earlier rounds to just decommit to a push. We saw there them pushing towards C, lose a player, and still try to force forward and hold that same angle, where in previous rounds we would have seen them absolutely pull off there, reassess their options, and sort of refocus. I think that they need to go back to the drawing board a little bit.
I mean, this is what you talked about before the game. That scary, scary double operator setup that TSM can come out with, especially on Haven, is going to be incredibly powerful at shutting down this Sageless composition. And I'm kind of noticing a theme here with BBG's Sageless. They want to play aggressive, so they start moving fast, but they're getting shut down by TSM around every single corner. If they can pick off Subroza, they might be feeling a little bit better. Drone's going to take that one out. Going for aggressive flash around the corner here. They've all turned to face. Subroza trades himself out for one and gets himself out of a very sticky situation with a little bit of a bright side.
Yeah, Subroza at this point, I think all of TSM is showing quite a willingness to play fast and loose, which may come back to bite them after the half, but is paying overtly right now. Very little punishment coming up from the side of BBG.
BBG don't really have that opportunity to punish. They want to go for those rotates, but they can't. You get away with that in the first, the second round, maybe. But once you start going late here, TSM just out utility you. Oh, there's a player hiding on site. They don't have a clue. They get mowed down one at a time by Hazed. Up on the box. Not much time left, and not many rounds left in the half here. And there's 8-3. TSM set themselves up for a beautiful first half of Valorant.
Looking at the econ here, I can't imagine we see anything outside of 9-3 here, which is absolutely not what BBG wanted to see. And honestly, not even what I would have expected. TSM obviously the favored team in this matchup, but I would have hoped for at least an 8-4, if not a 7-5. 9-3 is just way out of hand.
Yeah, this is utter dominance so far, especially since that double operator came up. How many rounds have we seen with TSM still having 4 members alive? Again, getting aggressive, holding his trigger finger for the time being. They don't want to know that he's there yet until Spud takes his head off his shoulders. Now the aggressive A push can come in. This is what BBG were looking for to make their way in. They can get up onto the high ground here. Take Heaven away as an opportunity. We'll know where the rest of the rotations are coming in. Robwiz cleans up one more, and it's finally looking better here for BBG, flying down to the low ground, and they're just going to try and trade out their numbers advantage on the low.
Interesting choice out of Tork to use that Sova ultimate prematurely. You typically want to see that used for the late post plant as a defuse denial, but it may not matter here. And it doesn't, as Robwiz finally finds a round where he gets good footing, dropping a 3K, and that'll bring us to an 8-4. Still not ideal, but definitely back into the territory of something that makes this a bit more of a game moving into the second half.
I think the one thing, though, that BBG can kind of count on is that now they don't have to be playing as fast. They played aggressively in their attacking half, but the second they got stopped, that was it. This Sageless composition runs out of gas so quickly. They were caught in the corner of the map, God knows how many times, with nowhere to go. They had no map control this entire time. But TSM, they're not going to have that problem on their attacking side, especially with Hazed running the Brimstone. You've got those spare smokes. You also are going to have all the information from Drone running the Sova. I suspect TSM are going to want to play this one a little bit low and slow here.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how the two teams approach their respective sides differently. Obviously, we saw that BBG's effect early on in the round. It looks like we have a pause coming in. Don't know if that's a technical pause or an error with one of the players' setups for the moment. But just going over the strategy a little bit more in the meantime, I think we'll get quite a good look at how BBG and TSM attack the respective sides. BBG obviously opting into sort of those non-committal, look for picks, rotate aggressively, try to bait out overcommittals, 2 rotations out of the defense, and then re-push. TSM may play, as you're saying, sort of a low and slow, similar style where they're looking for an early pick and looking to play through and around over rotations out of BBG. But if you remember from the pre-round when we were discussing Sage's compositions, one of the things that I brought up is that TSM and really Sage's compositions in general look to either play a counter-offensive play style or a post-plant retake style. And so it'll be interesting to see if BBG opts to avoid those retakes or push backward and just take free retakes, give away the sites more freely and play for that style.
Yeah, as far as Sageless compositions go, these two function extremely differently. I think the Brimstone gives TSM that little bit more flexibility that they really want coming into this, especially when you swap sides. Things get so so much more awkward for BBG on the defense is because all of a sudden you've got to be making aggressive moves. You have to be looking for that advantage because you're not going to get it via utility. The only thing you have is the Omen, which is going to be remotely useful for them, but it doesn't offer nearly as much as TSM are going to have. And if TSM, I think, can spread their influence over the entire map, eventually you're just going to be pressuring out BBG by the fact that you can move forward as a group and take up more map control like they were doing on the defensive side.
And it looks like we're back out of that pause, moving into the round. And we see one of the two things I just mentioned out of BBG, that a really forward counteroffensive. They're going to push right up to window. And it looks like it'll pay dividends right out of the gate, but then flips on them.
Oh, this is not pretty, Anderzz. This has been shut down immediately by TSM. Not to mention, they barely had anybody there. They just walked forward and traded out the kills beautifully. They've got control of the entire BA side of the map. There's one player lurking around. BBG are not long for this life, though. TSM continue to take control, and this is going to put them at 10, which is honestly a pretty scary number to be at if you're BBG.
Yeah, definitely. I think the intent was really good out of BBG there, but it just flipped on its head so fast. You saw them push that 3-man counteroffensive up towards window, get an early pickoff, which is perfect, but then the way that they had structured their push made it very hard to trade each other out, so they ended up just going down one after another immediately thereafter, and in a lot of ways being caught off guard by the fact that Wardell just immediately pushed them with a shorty.
Shorty was a perfect tool to deal with that, but now they've got the perfect tools to win this round. TSM now ahead in the economy. Look to clean up. Wardell's going to opt for the Marshall here. Not unfamiliar to this weapon. Knows there's one more player hiding around the corner, just looking to take care of the Phoenix. No stack by BBG, which is particularly curious to me, but they are getting aggressive here. The Jet pushing forward in mid. Big question is, do they get this pick? They do. Hazed falls, and with that, TSM lose a ton of map control.
Blocking sight.
TSM, more or less, have complete control of the A side here, but the Spike's still waiting in lobby. And we have a really aggressive multi-man flank coming out of BBG. Little do they know, they're about to push directly onto the Spike, and we're going to have a 3v3 matchup, or 3v4 matchup in very short order here, if BBG keeps pushing forward.
This round has gotten incredibly awkward, but color cleaning things up and making it a little bit more sure with the Bulldog. The cage is going to give them a way out and put a timer on the clock here as the Spike gets planted over at A. Built by gamers. It was a close-ish mid-round. They had a way back in, but cleaning that up is just so difficult. And again, the utility of TSM is going to come into play, that they were able to stack more smokes, more cages, and more utility on top of that Spike, therefore letting them get out with ease and get that on over to A. BBG didn't have any real say in that. They had a singular Omen smoke on top of it. It wasn't exactly positioned in the best place, and so it's just this awkward Mexican standoff for the Spike that TSM are going to be winning every time. Now, though, with a bit of a little bit more even economy, BBG are going to look at their first full buy of the half.
Yeah, that whole round panned out in such an odd way, with really BBG switching sides of the map with TSM in the latter parts there. We'll have to see if BBG can find some second half momentum here now that they finally have rifles.
I need it right now here. They're running out of time. That 10-4 scoreline looms ever closer over their heads again. Robwiz, though, holding in mid. TSM taking their sweet, sweet time, but they're not losing map control for it the same way that BBG were. They know they have the utility to take wherever they want. It looks like that wants to be Garage. A standard C split here as they get aggressive 2 members for BBG, though, are set up to try and defend the push, readying itself to come in, but TSM are going to wait a very long time.
Yeah, TSM playing really akin to the way that BBG did prior, but their slow push yields them far more map control, with Drone getting all the way towards defender's spawn, and now they just have entire control of C.
They lost the Spike again!
TSM's Spike placement is so confusing here. We've seen it now twice with very odd placement, very deep in their original lobbies. And this time, dropped in Garage as there was a preliminary push onto site. It
I mean, they
goes
haven't been
on
hitting the butt for it yet. It's been relatively close.
exactly. It goes unpunished, but it's something that's very confusing. Ironically, we saw a little bit of this earlier in the day in Europe, where G2 played a couple of rounds where they were leaving the spike in literally their spawn and being absolutely blown to pieces for it in a couple of rounds. And it begs the question, if we keep seeing this sort of odd spike layout from TSM, are BBG going to start taking advantage? Just 2 rounds ago, we saw where BBG got that huge flank. There's a world where that goes horribly, horribly wrong for TSM, and if we keep seeing that behavior come out, it's only a matter of time.
Well, how's that for behavior? Robwiz pushing extremely aggressively. Hazed gets him to 2-3 here with the Phantom to clean up towards C. That's immediately going to be a rotation over from TSM. They know what they've got. They know they've got the map control. Most importantly, look at this. Sova in mid is going to have the backside. Doesn't even need to get the spike down. 12-4. We're going to game point, Anderzz.
This is the a little bit closer to the landslide that would have been foretold by the team's statures, but I was holding out a little hope for BBG. That hope is now gone. We see them there in that last save round getting absolutely punished. For whatever reason, forcing a 1-by-1 3-man push into Hazed as he just mows them down.
He's padding the stats. He was looking a little negative. Now he's 9 and 10. They were more than. It's just a gift. They want this map over with, and they might as well give the frags to the guy on the bottom of the scoreboard. Although, when trading aside,
the flavor text mini quest here is that no one on TSM is allowed to leave the match with a negative KD.
Match point though. BBG have weapons, and it's now or never for them. They can only really come in here. They need to win every round following. Mid control's already given up. TSM have completely split them away. Tork's operator sightlines now completely non-existent. He can maybe throw a shock dart or two on us here, but TSM are going to get that spike down and immediately evacuate into the corners, and this gets a lot harder for BBG.
We finally see a B plant, and I think that the reason we've seen B plants so infrequently this match is because there aren't sages. The sort of default approach to a B plant on Haven obviously being to fast push, plant for mid, and then wall off one of the respective sides covering the remainder. Where they don't have access to sage wall, B is just a 3-way clown fiesta where they have to hope that people push into mid willingly and they get to pick them off from window.
Oh, Wardell will get taken out by his own shock dart, though. Drone doing his best to try and hold on to this spike. Oh, the crossfire here in mid is going to make it so hard for Payen to push in. BBG goes down 0-1 currently in this best-of-3 quarterfinals.
What a slaughter
great
fest.
Match.
Oof. Yikes.
It almost looked close. There was some shining moments, but there was definitely a strong skew in one direction. Let's take a look at those stats quickly. Anderzz, you're the stat man. Tell us what you see.
It was a great match, but only for TSM, I guess. We see Wardell at the top of the food chain. Everyone expects him to be here at 19 and 6. Something that absolutely needs to be said here, though, is how insane his supporting cast was this game. Cutler at 17 and 8 as a Cypher anchor was absolutely critical to their success this game. In many cases, enabling Wardell to do his dirty work and just absolutely laying waste to BBG's offense.
Now, I gotta ask. This was almost a mirror matchup, right? The only difference being, of course, the Brim and the Omen. And they both bring smokes, they both bring their own utility. But how do you think it changes the play style? And do you think that it played some sort of kind of played into TSM's hands in this matchup? Dora, what do you think?
I think it played out exactly like we predicted it to. They both ran the Sage's composition. TSM got aggressive, so did BBG, but every time BBG got shut down. And whether it was the Molotov, whether it was the smokes, TSM just had more utility to stop those aggressive pushes from coming in the mirror matchup, whereas BBG, they didn't. Every time TSM got aggressive, they'd either find a pick or get a little bit of information. They wouldn't be losing anybody on their way, and neither were they giving up map control because, again, you're playing a little bit slower of a composition. You can leave your options open. BBG, whenever they attacked, if they got stopped, the options weren't open. They couldn't just go to the other side of the map. You got away with that for 1, maybe 2 rounds following the pistol, but you just run out of tricks up your sleeve.
Yeah, I would definitely tend to agree. I think also that one of the key factors here that flew a little bit under the radar is that Brimstone offered TSM a lot of explosiveness that allowed them to take a lot more map control as they were pushing forward. Omen is generally going to play slightly more aggressive, almost more akin to an entry than a controller in some situations. And even just beyond that sort of split and play style, we saw that TSM was playing their Brimstone as an opper in so many rounds. And we didn't see any sort of play from their BBG's Omen with an operator. And so that was a pretty distinct diversion between the two teams' defensive play styles.
Now, TSM, we kind of touched a little bit about how they had a very aggressive play style against Complexity a little bit earlier on, and I think we saw quite a lot of that even on defense. Wardell was an absolute monster, running it straight down long there. He was not having any nonsense here. BBG just getting crushed under the weight of the aggression. Bind is our second map, guys. What do they got to do to try and turn this one around?
Honestly, I'm going to be completely honest. I wish that they could place with the Sage. If we see another Sageless composition out of BBG, I think they're completely sorted, and I think we see a 2-0. I think that you can't play Sageless against TSM, who pioneered it in your region, and expect them to not be able to call your shots. You might get a couple cheeky rounds early on due to wild rotations and fake outs, but I think once those cheeses are out of the holster and you've shown your cards, you're just hung out to dry.
Yeah. Now, the one thing I did notice, Wardell dies in the first 15 seconds and BBG win the round. Coincidence?
I mean, it makes a lot of sense. It plays into that whole narrative that we touched on at the beginning, where Sage's compositions, when they're playing offensive, if they're running headlong into an op, they're toast. If they somehow manage to kill said op, they're not toast. It's really just that simple.
Yeah, the equation's relatively one-dimensional here. Take out Wardell, take out the entire competition. However, you mentioned Cutler earlier, and I think Cutler was a large reason why we were able to see Wardell do so much. I mean, how many times did we see the a-hole go between just those two, trading on kills left and right across the side? I actually feel like it was the Brimstone playing